Today's halftime overtime, so-called SPAC king Chamath Palihapitiya winding down two of his SPACs after failing to find a deal. It raises questions now about the future of this alternative way to go public. Halftime's Josh Brown still critical of that space, believes the recent boom is over.
They have never been a good investment for individuals. They're great for sponsors. They're great for somebody as successful and charismatic as Chamath. We've seen SPACs every time that there's been a gold rush. This time was no different. That moment is now past. And I don't doubt that 3 years from now, 5 years from now, we'll all forget. There'll be another crop of SPACs.
All right. Well, Joe Terranova is back with us. The question is, do you believe what Chamath told me himself almost a year ago exactly at Delivering Alpha 2021, that this was going to be a meaningful revolution that was going to last for a long time, or was it a moment in time?
I think it's an example of excesses in the market. I think Josh is 100% correct in his analysis. I think the SEC will enact a lot of regulatory oversight on SPACs as we move forward. You've had 21 that have shut down year to date, Scott. There's 550 more. 550 more that have to find a home to be buyers. $150 billion in capital. Understand that moment of excessiveness was in February of 21. So Q1 of 2023 is going to be very interesting. You're going to hear a lot of stories about SPACs winding down. And over 25% of the SPACs that were introduced in 2021, they're now trading below $2.
So what if I say, OK, there's still going to be SPACs, right? Chamath is right. It's
Correct.
a revolution that's not going away, but the crap SPAC is going away. That everybody and their brother had a SPAC.
So
everybody.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a revolution. I mean, SPACs have been here for decades, and there have been successful SPACs. They're in the minority, but there have been successful SPACs, and there will be successful SPACs as you move forward. I think Chamath still has two that are healthcare related. I wish him nothing but success there. But I think the overwhelming majority of these SPACs are going to end up in disappointment. And for the individual investor, to Josh's point, these are not good investments.
Well, what if they are scrutinized more heavily moving forward, so there aren't as many of the dumpster SPACs and there are legitimate SPACs? I mean, you can't argue against these alternative ways of going public, whether it's a direct, we haven't even talked about direct listing.
Right.
That's not going anywhere. Right now, I mean, the IPO market's been closed. But I have a hard time believing that once this cycle is over of this malaise in the market, and then you rekindle the next wave of boom or whatever it is, that you're going to still see these. They're just going to be more heavily scrutinized.
Show me that legislation. I think it's warranted. I think it's needed. If it could improve the vehicle that SPACs are right now for investors at that time, I would be open and willing to look at it and investing at them. But until that point, they need the oversight.
And by the way, you know, I know we highlight Chamath because he was is the so-called.
I actually applaud him. I think he did the right thing.
Well, I mean, he's not the only one who sort of abandoned ship at this particular time. I mean, it's hard to find a target, right? Ackman did the same thing.
Sam Zell, I think, did as well.
21 have already liquidated this year because of the environment that we're in. Let me ask you a question. When do you think the environment for IPOs in general is going to get better?
Can we ask Chairman Powell that tomorrow in the press conference?
It all depends on that.
All depends on the chairman.
Right now, where rates where they are, where the trajectory for the Fed, the market remains closed as long as you have a highly unsettled and volatile stock market.
I think Stanley Druckenmiller said maximum uncertainty. That's where we are right now.
All right. Good stuff, Joey. Thanks.